let's just. Okay, guys. Let me see. Yeah, yeah, we're on. Okay, guys. Okay, thank you very much. This is a live for. We're going to get into UV's topic. Okay, guys. The thing is this. I know the 90% in the planet hates UVs. I know, but we have to understand UVs are very important. Why? Because UVs are gonna give us a lot of information for the next um, steps in the pipeline process. One of the things that you need to understand, what is UV? UVs are the Cartesian coordinates just in 2D plane. So what happened with that? What is exactly in Christian words? So UVs are the literally the coordinates of each primitive just in 2D. So what does that mean? It means that are the images that you're gonna unwrap from the primitives or the models that you already have. So something more that you need to be not concerned but be conscious about it is UVC is very important topic because without UVs you cannot texturing anything. There's a new technology that you already know. It's called p-text, but the problem with the p-text is you really need a piece of software that it can handles that kind of format. The problem also with p-text is that you cannot extract JPEG, PNGs, XSR images in 32 bits to extract a map that is gonna grab the image that you're gonna apply in the render engine. It depends what you are going to work in the future. For example, if you're gonna work on a video game, you need a game engine. So the game engine actually in this moment the technology is very advanced. We have a lot of game engines. We have Bifrost. We have I mean Frostbite from EA. We have Torque. We have Unreal Engine, we have Unity, we have many things, and also we have the free open source game engines like Godot that you can see here in my viewport. So if you don't have UVs, you cannot do anything about texturing or surfacing. So UVs are very important. Are very important for the next steps in the pipeline. So we're gonna start just making a review of the tools that Blender 4.2 already has inside of it. I have I have a lot of extra tools for UVs that they give me a lot of flexibility, a lot of versatility in the process, and we're gonna start from scratch. We're gonna start just understanding how many tools do we have in Blender, how can we use them, what are the goals to do in the pipeline process. So first of all, in Blender 4.2 we have a lot we have several things to understand, but don't be scared, guys. Blender is very flexible. It's free open source. You can use it offline, and you can just learn it from the guide if you decide that. So first of all, if you open a new window, I will not explain the UI in the 3D viewport because I already have a video tutorial about that. So, but I'm gonna explain it for the UV section. So, if you display a new window here, so you can just go to the UV editor, and then you're gonna have something like this. You are gonna have the basic tools in here for navigation, for moving, rotation, scale, and also the transfer combination between grabbing, move, rotation, scale at once. So you also have annotate for notes if you want to just put a note somewhere else for another artist, and then you can just send it to another department. So we also have new tools. We have the rip section with unstitch UVs and move the result. We have grabbing UVs. These three tools are more like for like sculpting UVs. These are pretty good because sometimes you need to distort the UVs according to more flexibility, or more to have a more flexible or more easy way to handle the UVs depending on the context. So you have grabbing UVs, you have relax tool, you also have pinching, because sometimes you have very you have a lot of UVs spread on the section on the UV set, so sometimes you need to concentrate all those UVs in there. So first of all, in Blender 4.2, so we're gonna just start from the primitives and explain something pretty basic. For example, we have a plane. Every primitive or every object that you have in here, if you just select it, it will not appear in here. So what do you need in here? First of all, before that, I am going to activate my screen keys. Let me just click it here. Um, yeah, there you go. So in order that you see what I'm clicking right now. So if you want to see, for example, any primitive or any object in here in the UV editor, so the first thing that you need to do is just going into edit mode. So first of all, you're gonna see this. What's going on in here? Here is the plane. The plane doesn't have any complexity, so it's already UV mapped. But if you just want to scale it, move it, rotate it, you can use these three tools in here. That's not a big deal. But the main thing that you need to understand is just please watch what I am clicking here. So I just mainly work just with the move tool. Then I just click R just to rotate. I don't navigate, just to click in here. It's just the hotkeys, the shortcuts just for clicking these guys. So for scale, you use S like this, and remember we have infinitive window, so you can see my cursor in there is just going to the right side, and it's gonna disappear and it's gonna appear in the left side. So this is pretty good for many artists, because what's happening here is sometimes the artist has a big desk, and then you just go here and then you say, oh, Maya stops in here, or Max stops in here, or Mara stops in here. So in Blender we have the infinity mouse traveling or tracking. So this is pretty good, because if you have a very high pressure DPI in your mouse, this is pretty good, man. You don't have to move so much your hand. So for the plane, this is something that it is not so much. So first tools that we need to see that are here in Blender 4.2. Let's go from the top to the bottom. So as you can see, I have a lot of tools in here, a lot of tools. So I have extra tools in here because I just found a lot of free open source tool, and other tools I just bought them. Right now they became free open source, and some of them I invest money in, and I bought some fancy tools that helps me a lot. So first of all, let's just go to the top and let's just start just explain pretty fast what is it. So we have transformation in here, that all the tools that we already have in here. So we have mirror, so we can mirror in X and Y, I mean in U and B, or we can just copy and mirror UB's coordinates. These are pretty good tools. So we don't need any icon just to to make it look a little bit fancy like other softwares. If if it describes by itself is more than enough. So you can just mirror in X and Y or U or B. We have snapping tools. We have the same snapping tools like in the viewport for modeling. These are pretty handy in some cases when you have overlapping UVs. We have round pixels that they're gonna gather all the selections in the corner or the center or with disable. I play with disable all the time. Constrained image bounds. So it's gonna constrain everything inside of the UV set area. We have merge tools to the center, to the cursor by distance. This is pretty awesome because sometimes we need to merge some unfold or unmerge UVs in there that we just pass out. So also we have some split. We can split things in here with this. This tool is really awesome. I love it because I have a lot of discipline when I'm working on UVs and I'm pretty fast. So leave on grab is when you're working on ungrab, you need to make the ungrab of the tools of the objects click by click. But with leave on grab, every time you make a cut of the sims or make a cut to open more the object, is gonna just make it automatically just in real time. This is really cool, but for beginners this is not so cool because most of the time beginners and intermediate artists they're very distract people and they really don't care and they're just working, but they don't pay attention about that. So live on grab is for advanced users because they know what they are doing on the present, on time, on the second, on the frame. So here on ungrab tools, so we have ungrab in general. We have smart UV project. This is a like how can we say is like multi-planar projection. Is gonna ungrab the things in X, Y, and Z. So you can control many things with the options that is gonna present in here. So you're gonna have how is gonna ungrab the things is gonna cut every 66 degrees. So you can have a scale method. You can have an axis rotation in vertical or horizontal or both. You can have a margin of error between islands or area weight that is gonna assign some weight between it. We can correct the aspect ratio, so it means that it's gonna correct the scale between islands. And I mean, it's gonna maintain the aspect ratio. This is a scale bounce, so everything is gonna be scale just inside of the working area. So then you can just start just clicking on grab. Then we have more tools. We have the light map pack. Okay, the light map pack. This is something that many other softwares they don't have. You have to do it like kind of like random ungrab. The light map pack is for capture all the information in another UV set to capture the light of the lights that you have in the game engine. So this is a little bit, this is gonna ungrab every face in the UV set. So this is not for film production or for TV production or for entertainment. This is more for video games. Follow active quads. This is something that many people doesn't care because they say, what does that mean? It means that you can, when you align 2 points and then you set follow active quads and you have a primitive that is a cylinder or a plane, a cube or a rectangle or what to say, a ring, is gonna make it straight. So this is very important because many people just make it by hand manually. So this is gonna be a torture. So follow active quads is gonna make when you align two vertices or two UVs, and then you just click follow up the quad of the of one face is gonna make straight everything. If you have triangles, this is not going to work. This only works on quads, and that's it. But we're gonna give it a try in the next. So let's see. We have cube projection is gonna make like, yeah, triplanar projection is gonna make like X, Y, Z, like the smart UVs. It's pretty similar, but the smart UVs is gonna be based on angles or degrees. We have cylinder projection, we have a sphere projection, like in Maya and other softwares. The cylinder is gonna display. It's very useful for bottles, for something that it has like a cylinder shape in there. Sphere projection is pretty useful for planets or like an apple or a watermelon or things like that. So these are the tools that Blender already has. So we're gonna get into these guys a little bit later. So we have pin and unpin. Pin is gonna restrict the move of the UVs where you don't want the UVs to be moved. And you can pin here or unpin here with this. So we have invert pin, so it's gonna select all the things that are on pin. These two guys are gonna be your bread of a day with butter. So MarkSims and ClearSims. Sims are gonna be these guys that I'm gonna show you here. Okay, first of all, let's just change here into lines. So first of all is Control E, and we have this. We're gonna call MarkSim, and this sim is gonna be represented by a red line in here. So if you just this line means that it's gonna be a cut on the UVs. All the information of the UVs are gonna be here in the UV editor, not outside. So people gets confused about that. If I make a cut in here, it's gonna be cut literally. No, this information is just for 2D for UVs, and that's it. Don't be afraid just to make UVs or MarkSims in here. So these are the MarkSim and ClearSim. So ClearSim in this case, for example, how it works. Let's just Control E, and then we're gonna do ClearSim if you don't want to cut in there. So what's next in here? In here we have more information. Let me just move a little bit in here. We have sims from islands. Let me put an example. Let's just think about this. If someone made a model in Maya or 3D Studio Max, and then they wanted to send it to you, but you don't see the cuts outside in the viewport. You only see the UV islands in here, but you don't. But in reality, you want to see where the artist just start cutting. So what can you do in that case? Let me just put an example pretty fast just to show you. Imagine this cube was made by another artist. So what's going on in here? So you cannot see any red line in here, and you are gonna say, what's going on in here, man? So I don't see the cuts, but you already have some UVs in here. So are you lying to me? No. It means that, for example, sometimes when you bring an OBJ, the OBJ or the FBX or the Alembic guy will not bring the representation of the sims. It's gonna be already UNG Grab, but it's not gonna show you the cuts. So what can you do in Maya or here in Blender? So you have a tool in here that is called Sims from Island. Just click it in here and it's gonna show you where are all the cuts. So this is pretty useful, guys, and many people doesn't take it seriously, but this is pretty serious because sometimes people say, okay, how can I correct Some seams where did this guy just start just doing the UVs, blah blah blah. I can just improve the UVs. So this is just the way. So what is next in here? We have packing island. Okay, what is packing island in here? So let's just imagine all the UVs are in here. So you will not be able just to paint anything in here. We don't have any information in here. Let's imagine this is gonna be sent to make a sand cube for a video game map in there, and you have your UVs in here. They are not in here. So the pack is that all the UV packs that is gonna be selected in here. If you click it in here, pack islands, it's gonna bring this section, and it's gonna ask you what do you want to do. So what you want to do. So in this case, this is the shape method. It's gonna extract the shape concave or the boundary on or convex. So most of the time I'm gonna start just working on extract shape. Is the most accurate one. If you have different scales in here, it's gonna manage automatically. It's gonna resize your scales in here, fitting in the best way. So the other one is, if you have a bad position of these islands, it's gonna rotate those islands automatically in any way that it thinks that is the best way, just to improve your UVs and gather more space in there. So we have the rotation method. So in here I have any. You have cardinal axis, you have axis align in vertical and horizontal. Most of the time, personally, I prefer any, because I like to manage by myself. I don't want the computer just to understand things for me. I prefer to understand the things. The computer is gonna think by itself, but is not gonna think for me. So I prefer any. And the other one is gonna be scale. So here in scale, this is the margin method. So how close are gonna be the islands between them by an addition or a fraction. So most of the time I prefer in here scale. So in the other way, we have a margin of error between islands. So it's gonna be 0.001 space between this island, and if you had another island in here, it's gonna be pretty close to this one. It's gonna be, let's just move just one face in here. Let's see. I'm gonna change it here. Okay, let's just move just this face. Let's imagine here the value is 0.0001. So this is gonna be the value for packing, but you can increase it. You can make bigger space, like 0.1, 0.2, or I don't know. The main rule for UVs is never put this exactly overlapping anything. Don't put things like this. There are some cases, advanced cases, where you can just overlap UVs exactly in the same like others. When you have a lot of pieces that they're gonna have exactly the same textures, like for example, like grapes. If you have some grapes, some apples, or things like that, so you can put this overlapping if you want to make like instances or things like that. So the packing tool, sometimes I prefer to use all the shortcuts in here. I have my own shortcuts in here. So this one, because I don't know why, but it has it doesn't have any shortcut in here, but I put my own one with Control P in here. And what you can do with this is this. Let me just select again everything, packing, and this is what packing is gonna do with this. Is Control P, and I'm gonna say margin like 0.1, and then I'm gonna just click pack, and this is gonna pack everything. What happened here is because I just rip the UVs in this section, so we need to just ungrab it again. Let's just ungrab it. So it's packing, and then something like this. So one of the most important things also here is never put things like this. Don't put things like this, because if you are working in future in advanced texturing like UDIMs, so what's going is going to happen in here. So for example, putting something like this, all the texture that you paint in this set, some of them are gonna be overlapping in the next UV set. So this is UV set 001, 0002, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 until 10, and you can have a lot of textures in here. You can have 100 in here, so this is more than enough for even for cinema or for production. In my case, I have already worked with this, like I think these are 100. Yeah, these are 100 UDIMs, independent spaces. So it's too much. I recently worked at Disney Junior shows. I was working on Ariel show, so I was doing some interesting things for some big scenes and big environments. So for a big environment, I use almost like, I think it was not 100, but I used like 25 UDIMs, like the first two, and then the next two, the next five, and it's too much. I most of the time I use 4K because it was a big environment, and yeah, this is too advanced for beginners. Beginners should understand first how to work properly with and use all the advantage of just one space in order just to understand the basics. So what is going next in here? So we have average island scale. So what's going on with average island scales? Let's just put you in context. For example, let's see, because we have a lot of primitives that they're already UV mapped. So what happening here? For example, let's just imagine you grab this and then you overscale it. So as you can see here, the size of this is possibly 2 by 2, but possibly this one is 1 on 1. So what's going on in here? We need to regulate everything and make the textile density of the scale of the textures exactly the same for the UVs. So in this case, we have average island scale. So we can click Ctrl A. Let's just click it. Let's just do it and see what happened. It's Ctrl A, and as you can see here, is scaling everything at the same measures. For example, if we have measures like working in 2 by 200, so everything is going to be regulate 2 by 200, or is going to put something in the middle. Then you can pack, and you can click Ctrl P and then say, okay, I don't want to rotate anything, just unclick and then pack, and then you're gonna have something like this. So first of all, you can optimize your size or your dimensions in here in order just to views of more space in here. So you can just scale it manually in here and then just start working with these sections and just trying to find a way to put all of this information inside of the UV set. For example, something like this. Oh my god, I'm so sorry guys for the interruption in here. So you can just start just working with the UVs, something like this, and you can just start making something manually just in order just to make your things work. Let's just click in here. I'm just working with the pivot. Here I'm using the 2D cursor, but I can use the medium point, I mean just the selected one. Let's just click R minus 90 degrees, enter, and then you can just adjust all the things in here, and just find a way just to make all the things fit in here more properly. Let's just use again the packing UV islands. Let's just Control P, and then we can just reduce here like 0.05, and then don't use rotation, just respect all the rotations that we're already having here, and we have something a little bit more better. So we can just improve a little bit more, something like this, and then going back again to the cursor, something like this, and we can use a little bit more space in order just to do something a little bit more proper. Let's just make something like this, something like this. Just try to avoid, guys, 100% avoid to touch with the islands, just the borders in here. Don't do that, because you're gonna have a lot of troubles when you send this for texturing. So let's just get into the rest of the things. Okay, what do we have more in here? So we have this minimize the stretch. This is for when you have a complex model like organic, like characters, or something like food, or something like UV is very concentrate. So what is going to happen with the minimize stretch? So when you have a lot of concentrate UVs just in one point, this is going to relax depending on the angle, on 90 degrees, 45 degrees in the principal mathematical angles, 45, 30, but it's going to relax all the UVs of the islands as much as the computer thinks. It's pretty handy, it's really good, but most of the time I prefer just to make my cuts more properly to avoid this tool. We have stitching tools. Oh my goodness. Okay, the stitching this is to merge at some point some of the UVs in here. So we can just stitch a lot of the UVs in a very custom way in here. We have align tools, we have straighten. These are pretty handy. We have outer lines. You can select a loop, a complete loop that is a little bit like a waggy line, and then you can tell it align it in vertically or align it in horizontally, or out align it. So it's going to interpret if most of the vertices are in horizontal, it's going to out align in horizontal, and vice versa. So we have align rotation. Most of the time I prefer just to use R 90 degrees, R 45 degrees, R minus 80 degrees. It's a little bit faster for me. We can copy and paste UVs. It's pretty handy. And let's see the rest of the tools. Let's see. We have a bunch of tools in the bottom. And finally, I know many people is gonna tell me about that. We can paint in 3D. We can use Substance Painter. We can use Marmoset. We can use Mary. Yeah, I know, but there are some specific changes from the client sometimes that they want tiny changes, and you don't want to re-export the OBJ or the changes of the UVs. So sometimes you want just to delete like a small spot in Photoshop or Affinity Photo, and then just make the change. So we can export the UVs even with UDIMs in here. So you can export the things in PNG, and we can export tails with these two naming convention that we use in production. We can use UDIM, we can use UBtail for any other purpose, and we can make any kind of resolution in here. For example, we can click 4K, we can click, for example, 4K multiplied by 2, and we have 8K, blah blah blah. We can send the UVs as a PNG with 25 of opacity. And sometimes because people say, I don't want to see the lines very consistencies in there, I don't need so much to see the lines, I just need to see not so much. So you can just reduce the opacity of the fill of the lines, or you can just increase it 100%. So UVs in here, we can reset the UVs, as you can see here. Let's just click it and it's gonna reset everything by default, by 0. And the rest of the tools that I have in here are very customized and very personal plugins or personal items that I grabbed or I bought in the past. I'm gonna do another tutorial for UVs with these other tools. So I have UV manipulation, the magic tools that we already have, the my UVs in here. So we have this already here inside for aligning UVs, smoothing UVs, selecting UVs, for overlap, for flipping UVs. So let's just get into the UVs just for the basics right now. So I wanted to explain what we have in here, just the native tools, just to explain you with speaking about them. But let's just get into here. So how UV tools works in here. So first of all, just click one in here, go to edit mode, and then Control E, and we can just MarkSim all the UVs in here. Or if you want to say, okay, I don't want these UVs, I don't want this MarkSim, I don't want these sims, I don't want these sims, let's just Control E and then ClearSim. And then you need to select all in edit mode, everything in edit mode. So then you're gonna click U, and then it's gonna bring all the tools that I already show you in there. We also have projection from views, so if you wanna just project just one face, for example, like the top face of this one, so you can just do project from view, and then it's gonna project just this face in here. But also, in case that you wanna manage, for example, from this view, these UVs, let's just select these 3 faces and then project from view, and then you're gonna have this from the projection from here. So personally, I don't want to handle something like this. It's gonna be a little bit more complex because we're gonna have a lot of distortions, as you can see here, because the camera is just watching in 3/4. So first of all, is like if you just want to ungrab all the faces in here, is just select all, MarkSims, and then you're gonna say ungrab everything, and then it's gonna ungrab everything face by face in different spaces. So as you can see here, we already have some spacing here because we have the margin of error in here. I'm gonna explain the method of ungrabbing in another tutorial because we need to understand many things in here with angle base and conformal. Most of the time for complex things I use angle base, but for some reason I prefer conformal for organic shapes. So we have while you're ungrabbing things, if you have holes in there, and if you see that the things are behaving really weird when you ungrab something, is because the fill holes are unclicked. So click here, because when you have holes, it's gonna try to unwrap everything very in a better way. Correct aspect. This is gonna maintain all the radius just in measure. It's gonna maintain the measures one on one in every shell. If you have subdivisions, okay, it doesn't matter if it's it Blender, Maya. It doesn't matter if it's it Max. It doesn't matter if it's it the new softwares about UVs. When you have subdivision surface with a lot of tessellation in there, it's gonna take time to unwrap. So, but Blender has pretty nice and pretty cool tools for unwrapping, and the algorithm is really accurate. So we have the scale method. Don't use add, don't use fraction, because it depends what you want to do. If you want to add more information to one island or other islands, it depends. I prefer scaled and maintain the margin of error on the islands. It depends. If you're gonna work on beta games, you want to use as much as possible all the space in the UV set, but avoid touching islands between each other. So 0.05 is really good. You can just reduce it 0.025. It's gonna give us a little bit more space in there. As you can see, the islands are a little bit closer to each other. So this is one of the methods. Let's see, for example, with the sphere. For example, with the sphere already has some information, but it depends what you want to do. It depends. For example, I really prefer, in my personal opinion, I know many people is gonna complain about that, but I prefer to force the UVs at some point. I prefer to have something like this, to make a cut in there, and then make a cut in here, like this. Something like this. Why? Because with the information that we already have in here, what's going on in here, so all of these picks in here are gonna cause so much trouble in the texturing. If you wanna merge all these tips in here, we're gonna have a stretch in there. So what I prefer in this occasion is make a cut in the top, in the tip and the bottom, in here, and also in here, and then make a cut that is going through the sphere in there, and then we're gonna have something like this. I know that this is distort, but remember that we already have a lot of tools in here in Blender to make this tool straight. So let's just rotate this guy something like this, and then we're gonna use the follow active quads to make this shape 100% straight. So how it works? Okay, we're gonna use some of the hotkeys that we already have in here in the UV tools in here. So I'm gonna call the W. So W is gonna call the ungrab, the follow active quads, blah 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 blah. So we have this. I don't want to navigate anymore in here because it's gonna take some time from my schedule. So what's going on? This is exactly the same like modeling. So number one is vertex, vertices. Number two is lines. Number three are faces. And if you want to going between those guys, you can just click Control Tab, like I click it here, Control Tab, and then it's gonna show you vertices, edges, faces, and islands. So most of the time I work with unsynchronized because I can take islands separately. I'm going to click number one, and then I'm going to the center of this guy, and then I'm gonna click these two guys in here, and then I'm going to click W, align auto, because I want to make this line 100%. As you can see in here, there's something that is not 100% aligned. You can see in there with the dashes in there. So I want to align this in horizontal. Also these two guys, I want to align these guys in vertically, and these two guys too. I want to make sure that this quad is gonna be 100% 90 degrees. So then I'm gonna click number 3 and I'm gonna select the facing here. What's gonna happen in here? Because this is 100% 90 degrees, this quad is all the rest of the quads are gonna follow the shape of this quad in 90 degrees. So let's just select the quad, then click W, and then we're gonna say follow active quads. If nothing happened, is because something we need to do something different. So let's just do something a little bit more different. Let's just make something like this. I don't know why. Possibly it's because I change a lot of my shortcuts in here. So let me see if I. Okay. It is not working because Alright, let me see. Okay, yeah, possibly it's because I changed all my shortcuts. Yeah, I check it. So what's going on? So if we want to make it work, so let's just do Shift Q. Let's just select everything in here, Shift Q, and then it's gonna make everything straight. So this is how it works. I know it's magic at some point, but first of all, as you can see here, we have differences between size. For example, these islands are a little bit bigger. These guys doesn't fit anymore in each section in here. So it means that we need to average the island scales. So let's just precise these guys, Control A or something, and then Control P, and just be sure that it doesn't rotate the things, because if you want to maintain this horizontally, because let's imagine, for example, let's just check, let's synchronize and see which face is this. This face is from the bottom, so this is the order that I want to maintain with this island in here. So I want to maintain the bottom in the bottom of the UV set and the top in the top. So let's just unsynchronize this guys. Let's just select everything, Control P, and then just pack it. So as you can see here, it's very tiny, the space between islands. I don't want that, because when I start just painting, possibly Substance Painter or other softwares are gonna tell me that there's some error in there. So let's just click Control P and this, and then we're gonna increase this, for example, 0.084. And then this is pretty good. This is nice and dandy. We have some space between the borders, between the islands. You can just move manually the things in here. Let's just move to another sample. For example, we have the cylinder. The cylinder is exactly the same process, almost the same process like the sphere. So what are we gonna do in here? So we're gonna just make a cut in the top of this loop, one in the bottom, and then we're gonna cut just in this section. Let's just mark the seams, select everything, select all toggle, and then we're gonna click in here, Ungrab. So we have this. If you are doing a bottle, if you feel comfortable just having all the label in vertical, is your choice. But personally, I prefer 100% just to move this, like rotate it 90 degrees and then pack it, doing something like this. So this is pretty nice and dandy. It doesn't matter if you have it in the bottom or in the center, or I don't know, it doesn't matter, but use as much as possible the whole space of this UV set. This is pretty important to use because as much space you use, more resolution you're gonna have. So let's go for the cone. The cone is exactly the same process. This is just click this, click just one line in there, and then just mark the seam and ungrab this guy. Let's just ungrab this, and you're gonna have something like this. As you can see here, we already have pretty good space for the cone. Um, in case that you're doing an ice cream or something like that. For example, for the torus is something that we need to analyze just a little bit. Not so much, but a little bit. We have some information in here. So as you can see, the torus is like a cylinder that is just going around. So how can we cut this guy? For example, first of all, I want to make a cut in the interior, not in the exterior. I don't want to see my seams when I am texturing. So put your seams in a place where the camera is gonna be very hard to see. So I'm gonna put my seam in there, and I'm gonna just make a cut in there. So when I start just cutting in there, it's gonna happen this. For example, we already have some information in here, but this is not properly, because as you can see, the distortion is we have rectangles, but we don't have rectangles in here. We have almost quads. So let's just ungrab this guy, and we're gonna have something like this. Actually, this is pretty nice and dandy. I really like it, but what can we do with this? Let's just align one of these guys like we did before, and let's just see. For example, let's just align, for example, these two guys. Let's just out align these two guys, these two guys, and these two guys. And then we're gonna just going back. Let's just see if this is working. It's not 100% working. I think it's because it's this. Let's just select this guy again. No, it's because I have a lot of changes in my shortcut. So let's just unsync this and use this shortcut that we have. It's Shift Q, select everything with faces, and then Shift Q, and then we're gonna have something like this. So we have this. This is gridify already. This is the way to ungrab this. A good example, for example, let's just think about this. Let's imagine we have a donut with this, a weird donut, and the half of this donut is gonna be like sugar glaze, and the other one is gonna be like chocolate glaze in the other side. So if you want to maintain separate UV islands, so I would proceed to make a cut in there. So we're gonna have something like this. So it's ungrab, and we're gonna have these two guys. So let's just Shift Q, and we're gonna have something like this. As you can see, the scale, the measures are completely different. Let's just do average island, Control A, and then Control P, and then we're gonna have something like this. So as you can see here, guys, so we have the information from one side and the other side of the UVs basis on here. How can we check if our UVs are properly done? So we can use a lot of methods. We can use a lot of textures to see if our UVs are distorted or not. Let me put let me just stop right here right now, and let me explain you something. I'm gonna give you context. In production, sometimes you're gonna need sometimes straight UVs, and sometimes straight UVs, it doesn't mean that you're gonna have 100% good distortions. It means that you're gonna have sometimes weird distortions that you will need because you feel more comfortable. sometimes having um, complex models, you need to move the UVs in a way that you're gonna gather, or you're gonna have more space for texturing. Sometimes it's gonna be is you're gonna need to distort the UVs in a different way to texture a little bit more comfortable. So sometimes UVs are gonna be easy to do, and sometimes you're gonna ask yourself, I have some distort UVs in here, but when I texture the piece is more easy, but I don't understand why my UVs are distort, but I texture in a more comfortable way. Is because you need to try to find a way to work in texturing lines. I mean, when you have patterns in horizontals or vertical, sometimes you need straight UVs. So sometimes with arms, fingers, with the neck, and sometimes with the torso in characters, you need to relax in a very excessive way the UVs. And sometimes some people, it's a little bit quiet in their minds, and they're gonna start complaining that this is pretty distorted. Yeah, but I'm making the texture artist guy his life a little bit more easy because he's texturing pretty fast and more understandable way. So sometimes you're gonna need in a very classic way, in the classic way, the UVs, and sometimes you're gonna need to force the UVs. So this is pretty important just to understand. So for the Taurus, this is it. But for example, sometimes we have a lot of complex shapes like this. For example, I made these cookies for a client, but I asked the client if I can use this for a video tutorial for a live. So for example, this is a cookie that I did for a bakery shop. I'm gonna put the subdivision surface in two. Let's just isolate the rest and see how I work with this information. This is already UV mapped, so as you can see here, but I'm gonna reset the UVs and I'm gonna show you and make you understand how I start just working with something like this. First of all, we need to analyze the shape of this. As you can see here, is like a squashed from vertical shape. This is just a round shape, and we have some UVs in here. So first of all, most of the time when you are doing UVs, try to find the corners, the 90 degrees or something like that, or the borders between areas. So in this case, for example, we have some shapes in here. Asking myself, I would say, is it worth it to make a cut in here? Possibly. It depends. If you're gonna make a close up and you want to make the camera just travel something like this, like not so much, but something like this, yes, it's gonna be worth to make a cut in there and work in this piece separate. But what could happen? It could happen that you're gonna handle for some seams in there and you need to clone stamp in some areas. But first of all, what can we do with this? As much islands you have, as much problems you need to solve. So first of all, what can we do in here? Is it worth it to cut in here and then cut in here? No, because I'm gonna work so much putting a lot of seams in there. So I prefer to make a cut in here because it's almost the base or the border of the cookie, and then make a cut in there. So my UVs are gonna be something like this. Let's just unwrap this guy, and these are gonna be my UVs of the cookie in here. So I have my information and I can just start just working on the space of my UVs. So first of all, I'm gonna use as much as possible of the space of the UV set because I want more resolution. I want to take that advantage when I start just texturing, or in case that I use, for example, I don't know, possibly um, triplanar textures that are gonna be infinite textures that are gonna be able to be tailable. So this is the way to make, for example, something different for the cookie. Let's just see, for example, the rest of the cookies in here. Most of them, they have almost the same process. For example, this is like a butter cookie. This is also butter cookie, also butter cookie with an almond in there. But these two cookies, they have something in the center. For example, we have something with marmalade, or this one could be like chocolate in there. So let's just apply the modifiers for these guys. Let's just see the cookies in there, something like this. And as you can see here, for example, many people just gonna get scared about the shape of this cookie. Let me just delete the grid, because the grid is too distracting in there. So we have this cookie. So people is gonna tell me what's going on with this cookie. So this piece is a separate piece. So this is a separate piece that I prefer to model in a separate shape. So the other cookie is something like this. Let's just isolate these guys in here. As you can see, we have something like this. We can decide exactly this, and we can take exactly the same decision that we took before. We can just make a cut in there, and then we can just start just ungrabbing this guy. Let's just ungrab this guy. So we have this information in here, and we can just start just doing exactly the same with the UVs in here. So this is actually this pretty good job. Let's just appear. Let's just put again this piece. Let's imagine this is chocolate in there. So this piece is exactly the same process. So let's just put, for example, a cut in there. Let's just make a MarkSim. Let's just make an ungrab, and we're gonna have these two guys right now in here. As you can see here, we have some difference between the precision dimensions between islands. So let's just start making an average island in here. Let's just Control A in there, Control A, and then we're gonna do Control P. Then we're gonna just pack these guys in here. So we have this information. I'm gonna give you a good example when we can have different measures between islands. Let's imagine we're gonna have a close-up just in the chocolate, and we're gonna be able to see barely the rest of the cookie. So in this case, for example, we still have a lot of spacing here. What can we do with these two islands that they belong to the chocolate section? So let's go to individual origin. Let's just let me just drag it a little bit. Let's is dot, and then individual origin, and then we're gonna just overscale these guys like this. We're gonna use more resolution for these guys, because the point of interest of the camera is gonna be the chocolate area. So we can just increase the size of these guys. We're gonna have more resolution and more detail on these guys. So we can reduce a little bit, just a little bit, just to have a little bit more space in here. Let's just put this guy in here, and this guy a little bit in here, and just increase the scaling here. Let's just see, and we're gonna have much more resolution in our side to start just making the process. So what is next? Let's just see another example, a little bit more complex. Okay, let's go for this glass of whiskey, because I made this also for a client, for a liquor store, a liquor company. So we have this glass of whiskey. So you can see there's a lot of information in here. We have so much detail on here on the model, and many people is just gonna get panic. Where can we start? So first of all, the rule that I told you, just find borders. So borders in here, like this one, like this one, and inside this border in here in the bottom, another one, for example, like this. Let's just see this guy in here, and let's just start making the cuts in here. So first of all, another thing that you need to take in mind is that how are we going to do the cuts for this guy. So sometimes you will do some crazy cuts, because sometimes you will need to do those crazy cuts, but in my case I'm gonna just do something like this, and I'm gonna just start just doing the cut just through this way, something like this, and then we're gonna rectify the line like this, as you can see here. So we don't have straight lines like inside of the glass, so like this one. So in here it's a little bit more easy, it's easier. So in this case, for example, I'm gonna make a cut in there because I want the straight lines. And then what is next? The next is gonna see how the things are gonna behave in the cut process, in the ungrab process. So we're gonna have something like this, and let's just ungrab this guy and see how it behaves. So as you can see here, the information is going really nice, really but really nice. Let's just make these guys something like this. And what I'm gonna show you next is gonna be the pin tools. So the pin tools, you're gonna love these guys, because the pin tools are gonna help you to restrict and force some areas. Let's just click leave and grab first, because we're gonna make this work in real time, and then we're gonna start just using the pins. So first of all, I can force this guy to make this line 100% straight. For example, let's just make this guy 100% out of line, and then how can we call the pin? The pin, we're gonna call it just with P, just with P. And then what can we do with this? Let's just click one time here, and it's gonna start just unwrapping in real time. Lip unwrap, and as you can see, it forced the UVs a little bit better in this case. For example, let's just do it in here. Let's just click P and then outer line, and as you can see here, it forced the UVs in a much better way. So as you can see, it's gonna be easier to work with these guys in texturing process. Let's just select these guys in the other side, click P, and then W, and make straighten. In this case, it's gonna be straighten, and then you can just click outer line. It doesn't matter. Then you can just start just moving these guys in here, and as you can see, it's just unwrapping in real time. It's just making the distortions in real time. You can see as what is best for you for the UVs in this case. For example, this works for me pretty nice, so I'm just gonna leave it like that, and then we can just start just forcing the rest of the things in here. I would recommend just to turn off the subdivisions, because if you don't, it's gonna process this in a very slow way. So let's just select all of these, pin, and then outer line. We can do exactly the same. This outer line, select all of these, P, outer line, something like this, auto align, and we can just start making all of these guys in a very more flexible way, just to start working. Let's just auto align also these guys, for example, P auto align, and we can just start just working with this in a very proper way. So what's going on in here? So first of all, let's just we can just shift Q with this guy, or we can just select everything, shift Q, and it's gonna make it straight. Why I do not want to do straight lines in this guys, because we have a diamond in here. It's not a triangle because we have 4 points in there, but we have a diamond and we need to respect this distortion at some point. So for the spheres, I'm just gonna leave these guys. What is best for me in this case, for example, I really would like to have a better space, a better propagation of my UV, so I'm gonna just rotate in minus 90 degrees this, and then I'm gonna select all my islands in here, and then I'm just gonna click Control A to regulate my precision on my islands, and then Control P, and then I'm gonna just pack these guys. So we're gonna have something more organized in here. So another thing that you can do in here, but I really do not recommend, is you can just make it a little bit more in a quad way, this guy here, but I would not do that because we have good distortions in here, so I'm just gonna leave this guy. So this is the way just to start making UVs in a very beginner way. So in order just to prove how the distortions are working in here, so what we can do in here is, first of all, is just select this guy, go into the material. I already have some materials, but I'm gonna just delete those guys. I'm gonna create a basic one. I'm gonna create basic basic underscore M. Oh my god, I'm so sorry guys, I have some issues with my language in here. So basic underscore M, and I'm just gonna assign this guy to the rest of these pieces in here. So I'm just gonna select everything, and then the last guy I'm just gonna transfer and link the material, so everyone is gonna have the same material. So the next thing that I'm gonna do is this. So first of all, I'm gonna change in here in this section, in the shading area, I'm gonna change it to texture. So as you can see here, a lot of the textures, we have a lot of missing textures because we have some pink colors in there. So I don't care at some point. So what we're gonna do with this is, in the base color, I'm gonna just click in here, and then I'm gonna click image texture, and then we're gonna click here new, and then we're gonna change in generate type. I'm gonna change it to UV grid. So this is a way to change to bring a texture for to check your UVs. For example, let's just zoom in here. As you can see here, all my UVs are just working properly in here. We have minimum distortion in here, so this is gonna work pretty good for texturing. You can see um, the final result for these cookies is really good because it's respecting pretty good. It's just going according to the distortions of this guy. So we have also this guy. We have a lot of information here. So this is behaving pretty good, even if I made some weird cuts in there. So we barely see the cuts in here. So we have almost no distortions in there. So these are just the basic guys for UVs in Blender. So I'm gonna do like another tutorial just to for something a little bit more intermediate. I'm going into something like some props. Then I'm gonna do a third one, and I'm gonna start just doing some assets. And finally, in advance, and I'm just gonna start working on organic with possibly with a boost of a character that I already done in my art station. I did a humanoid of a hammer shark, and I did an alien that I already finished, and I already textured in Substance Painter. So thank you very much, guys, for this. And these are just a tiny basics to know the tools, the basic tools that Blender already has inside, and try to watch the. It's not a tutorial. It's more a guide just to make understand what kind of tools Blender has, and things like that, and how is the basic rules for UNG Grab and things like that. So thank you very much, and have a pretty good night, guys. See ya.